for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Now we're joining midway through qualifying one of the full qualifying format, and as you can see, it's a little bit wet. The forecast of Hungary has not been very kind to a lot of people, but at the moment, as you can see, the first couple of rounds of times have been set in, and Kiernan, the reigning champion, leads the way, a 1:28.923, 7 tenths clear of T. Gregors in P2, LB in P3. And it's certainly been a while, and I certainly have missed it. But we finally get a good turnout on the grid. 18 drivers for the full qualifying format, the top 15 of which will be going through into Q2. And, well, Koru is coming off a very successful night in APPF1. He is, of course, had a very decent night. I think he got 2 P4s and is looking good. Currently, at the moment, P4. So it's P4 for Koru. One tiny position off the podium at the moment. But at the moment, yeah, very wet, very treacherous, and for the drivers, Q1 is going to be very much a taster session, of course. Many drivers, as you can see, Jamie probably won't make it through the session, so if you can just put a decent time in as Ben Finch goes into P3 at 29.698, very close between Gregors and Ben, in fact. But if you can just put in a decent time, get out, put some fuel into the car, put a high fuel load into the car, and you can go long. The track will change, you'll get quicker, you'll find more grip. It's when you put low fuel in and you only do maybe 1 or 2 laps that you really lose rhythm of the circuit, and that is not what you want to be doing, King Eric, by getting into the way of LB in the Alpine, which is not the nicest thing to do. 6 minutes left of Q1. And at the moment, Solvent Sniffer is at the brink at 42.9. Definitely not the quickest he can go. And he's going to be looking to go again. A couple of people have sort of tested the intermediates, to my knowledge. I think you can see Luke is there. He's thinking about it. Taylor Hammers has just strapped on the green walled intermediates. Of course, if you are new to Formula 1, of course, in the wet conditions, in the dry, of course, you've got the C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, which are then split up into the soft, medium, and hard. In the wet, you've got 2 options. You've got the green walled intermediate that you can see no one's on track at the moment. Indeed, they are. Solvent Sniffer, the trusty Solvent Sniffer. You've got the green walled. You can see they're slightly different in terms of their grooves. They've got more of a gradual sort of indent. You can see the grooves are very sort of V-shaped. They sort of start and then dip in and then curve back up, and they're designed to displace a lot less water. They're better in sort of maybe slightly better conditions than these, when there's not a lot of standing water on the track, but it's still very damp. So they're good at displacing that water and still having a decent contact patch with between the rubber and the track. So you still have that rubbery grip, but Solomon Sniffer not finding a lot of grip through turn 12, just finding the limit a little bit, going over that curb on the inside, and, well, the rear end snapping around, and that is a very easy mistake to do. But if you contrast that to the wet attire, this is for more extreme wet. This is where there's a lot of standing water on the track, and you need to clear that water out of the way of the car by using all 4 wheels. Just spray that car, just spray the water out away from the racing line. You can see that's why the racing line is actually slightly darker, because that's a lot better of a contact patch, and that's where the water's been moved. On these Pirelli wets, you sort of displace, I think, around about 80 litres of water per second with around at 300 kilometers an hour. Around about 190 miles an hour. That's been Kill the Crow, going a little bit wide. Was powerful to the first sector, just didn't find enough grip in towards turn 6 and 7. But yeah, so they're a lot more extreme. They've got a lot less rubber that's actually touching the track, but they need to make that compromise to clear the water away, because it's all good having rubber on the track, but if that rubber is floating on top of water and not actually touching the asphalt, it's really going to be hard for them to grip up. And that's why the extreme wet tyre has a lot of grooves, and the more you know, that's why you see it on your road car for road safety. Of course, in the dry, if you have slick tyres where there's no grooves whatsoever, you're going to be quite quick, but as soon as it starts raining, you really lose a lot of grip, because the slicks are just sailing basically like a boat across the top of the water patch. Kill the Crow, though, is going to go again. 3 minutes 20 left in Q1. Kiernan testing the waters with intermediates. He's got nothing to lose. He's pole by 7 tenths. So absolutely nothing. He might as well just test the waters, get himself onto those inters, and do a couple of laps, see how it goes, so he doesn't have to gamble in Q2 and 3. Ben Finch, though, reporting in, there's absolutely no grip out on circuit. as C1 Nully goes with a 28.7, so the track definitely improving, and those were the intermediate tyres, so they definitely are the quicker of the bunch. Let's go on board with Corey, he's also on the inters. He goes purple to the first sector and through turn 5. In fact, maybe Kiernan needs to go out for another lap because the track evolution is so quick that everyone can improve, and improve by quite a substantial amount, so that 28.7 might not be secure. Solvent Sniffer, the other AlphaTauri, a 28.1, already finding more pace. The track is drying, the rain is easing off, and this track constantly tenths of a second through every corner can be found. Corner to corner, lap by lap, this track will change and improve, and the grip left to right and everything will change as Corey gets a bit of a lock-up. He goes purple to the middle sector as well and is looking to improve his 30.4 in towards the penultimate corner as he tries to negotiate his way through. Keep it tight as you can to the left-hand side, run it out to the right, bring it back to the left, don't touch that grass, and then again just to keep it tight all the way around. Don't go into the pit wall, don't get on that curb, because especially in the wet that's going to be absolutely no grip. Taylor Hammer's going for a bit of a spin off the exit across the line. It's a 28.689 for Corey, so Solvent Sniffer still leading the way. And Kiernan now finally getting himself out on track in the Williams, the reigning champion. And I think he's won a couple of races this season as well, and might well be leaving the championship and going for a number 2. I haven't actually been admittedly too up to date on the standings. 10 people watching live, that is pretty damn good. Welcome in everyone, pleasure to have you in. Make sure to like the stream if you are enjoying. The top 3 then Solvent Sniffer, Koru and C1. Kieran P4, but his time was set on the extreme wet tyres. A couple of people up and down the grid still trying to sort themselves out. We're now approaching the final stages with pretty much everyone on the circuit. T. Gregor's taking a bit of a gamble, so too is Reese. But Kiernan now starting his final lap. The master in the wet, the British driver in the British team in British weather. Perfect combination. Let's see how he negotiates the wet weather, because, well, us Brits, we know what we're doing. Through and towards turn 1, get that tight apex, keep it tight, get that good run as you go through the little king towards turn 2, and through turn 2, very off cam, but it really drops off towards the edge of the track, so you have to keep it tight in order to not let the car wash off. You can see he goes a little bit offline and the car just wants to get away from him. Pretty much flat through turn 3 in the dry, not quite so in the wet. You need to keep that throttle there, adjust the weight distribution of the car up the hill towards turn 4, purple to the first sector, nearly 5/10 improvement, negotiates turn 4 very nice, in towards turn 5, avoid that curb, get close to it, don't get on the throttle too early though. Bit of a Tokyo drift from the Williams as he tries to go through, very nicely done in order to hold that. Through turn 6 and 7 you can see the Mount Everest that is the curb on the inside of both the left and the right. Through turn 8, keep the throttle pinned, use that brake to pitch the car, pitch the weight of the car forward, get that weight on the front axle so you really benefit with the front tyres. They need every bit of grip they can. 27.2 for Tyler Miracle. He's definitely doing miracles today. That's the Williams of Ben Finch in the wall off the exit of turn 11. Kiernan going purple to the middle sector, 1.3 seconds up. And that's going to be a very, very good lap indeed. King Eric goes P3 in the Aston Martin, a 28.3, but a 27.2 for Tyler. It's a very, very good time indeed. Let's see if Kiernan can beat it. Q1 is coming to an end then. T. Gregors might well be in trouble. The top 15, remember, go through. At the moment, it's going to be Spiderina and Taylor. Kiernan goes quickest, a 26.5 at 3.6, 7/10 quicker than Tyler Miracle in P2. Let's see what Corey can do. He might need to improve it a little bit more. T. Gregors stuck in the pit lane. Ben Finch won't improve. He could, well, in fact, be in trouble. I don't think he will be though, because there's only 4 people left to complete a lap, and even if they all improve, it's not going to be enough for him to be knocked out of the top 15. So that's Q1 drawn to a close. Spiderina needs a good lap. He's not getting one. He's been spun round. He's in the wall and he's out of qualifying. Taylor Hammers into the pit lane. He will also be out, and it's going to be Spiderina, Taylor and Jamie out of Q1. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, because it's going to be a very, very, very good race. I hope, at the very least, and a very good rest of qualifying, because in these wet, you never know what's going to happen. And it is a little bit wet. And, well, Kiernan tops Q1, no surprise about that. He is very dominant when it comes to this league. Let's have a quick look at the Tier 1 standings. It is Kiernan, no surprise, that leads the way. 45 points clear of Koru. 45 points, that is just shy of 2 race wins. 5 points off 2 race wins. But other than that, Corey LB, Taylor, Solvent Sniffer, they're all within 13 points. Ben Finch 62 back, so 74, 71, 69, 61, 57. Very close. The battle for second. Nonetheless, Q1 is done and dusted. It's Kiernan that tops the session, followed by Solvin Sniffer, my favourite name on the grid. Tyler Miracle, the Canadian, in P3. Corey P4, with Luke rounding off the top 5. LB in P6, with King Eric P7. Daniel Stott in P8. C1, P9, with T. Gregors rounding off the top 10. C1, though, a 5th-place grid penalty. Ben Finch P11, with Bluefoot P12. Reese P13. Lewis Kearton P14. Kill the Crow rounding off those that will be going through. Spiderina, Taylor Hammers and Jamie out of qualifying. As we now go through a little bit of a break, a couple of moments or so while we load into the second qualifying session. And it is still very much wet. In towards Q2 should be good enough for intermediates. And while we're waiting for a couple of people to come out, I think we've got Corey heading out on the intermediates. He's got stopped by the Alfa Romeo garage as one of them pulls through. That might, I believe, have been Daniel Stott, or it might have been Luke. One of the two, the 89. I'm not entirely sure who that is, but I think no, it is Daniel Stott. He goes deep in towards turn 1. So Corey's going to get past. Not that it means anything in qualifying. Through turn 2, again, even in these wet conditions, you might have got used to it in Q1, you might have acclimatised yourself, and a trip over the grass, well, you're trying to find grip everywhere. I don't think, Corey, you're going to find it particularly well on the grass, and definitely not over and off the track going sideways through turn 4. That certainly won't help, but try different lines, try different things, because any tiny little gain you can make in the wet is exemplified and exaggerated so much, but as is the flip side, any mistake, any tiny correction, anything offline, any marginal braking a little bit too late, getting on the power a little bit too early, a little bit too soon, a little bit too suddenly, and you will lose a lot of time. But you can find a ton of time, and it's just about being that one person to find the grip, because if you can be that person to find the grip first, you are going to be absolutely flying and really set some good times. But save it for Q3, because that's when it really counts. You don't want people watching and seeing your tactics too soon on. Looking then as Corey rounds through the penultimate corner onto the his first lap of qualifying 2. A lot of people coming onto the track. Hopefully traffic won't be an issue. No DRS, of course, in these wet conditions, because, well, you do not need any extra speed down the straight. It's going to be quite dangerous, especially if the DRS fails and you can't stop in time in the wet. You've got no grip. In towards turn 1, a double front lockup for Corey, but he still manages to get it stopped. Trail braking, a very important skill to have in the wet, to take the brakes all the way through and pitch the car forwards all the way through. Double front lockup again for Corey, really struggling, but still managing to get it stopped. Keeps it tight through turn 2, through turn 3 again. Very nice. Use the track on the exit of turn 3 and then up the hill to end off sector 1. Purple, no surprise there. Negotiates turn 5 with some decent speed, carrying that momentum through in towards turn 5. Getting a bit of dirty air from the car in front roundabout now. Goes a little bit wide on the exit over the sausage and loses a bit of grip as he tries to put the power down. Another double front lockup. T. Greg is just in front, moves out of the way rather nicely. So does Bluefoot. In towards turn 8, another double front lockup. Maybe needs to back off the brakes a little bit. Only use about half brake as opposed to maybe 60 or 75% to avoid the locking up. Through turn 11 in towards turn 12. A very nice corner to send a move if you're close enough, but usually just wait for turn 1. Another double front lockup for Corey, but he's still quick. No, he's not. That's what I mean. Getting on that power that little bit too suddenly really spins up the rear tyres. 1100 horsepower around about in qualifying spec in these Formula 1 cars, and they're rear wheel drives. There's no traction control, no driver aids or anything. So that's 1100 horsepower going straight to the rear wheels, and they're just going to spin in the wet. 27.9 his first lap. Kiernan sets the pace at 25.4. Daniel Stott at 27.666 with Bluefoot a 45.3. Definitely not his best time. Luke at 27.4. So Kiernan still setting the pace rather nicely. Tyler Miracle, the Alpine, probably the closest one to actually being able to match Kinnan. A 26.135 for him. C1 a 26.4, and so far as your top three, those still able to tame the wetter conditions. This is Ben Finch down his lap. King Eric finishes his a 27.155. But in these conditions, it's all about consistency, and if it is wet for the race, I'm not entirely sure what the river is for the race. Maybe we can get some insight from one of the drivers in a moment or two, and just to clarify what the race is going to be. But even in preparing for the race now, of course, qualifying is just preparation for the race. You need to set yourself up well with qualifying, and it always makes the job easier in the race, especially at a track like Hungary, often nicknamed Monaco without the walls, and that is very rightly so. It's a very small, narrow track. These F1 cars around about 2 meters wide or so, and that does add up, especially when there's grass either side and you're not actually too far away from a wall. So overtaking definitely a scarcity around here, so qualifying ever important. And while it's not impossible to overtake here, it certainly does help to be higher up. But the setup, of course, you've got the Parc Fermé regulations. That means you can't make any major changes to a car between the first lap you do in qualifying. As soon as you exit the garage for qualifying, you are under Parc Fermé conditions all the way until the end of the race. So you can't change things like your rear wing, major suspension components, camber and toe angles of the front and rear wheels. You can make minor front wings and PSI adjustments. That's pretty much it. And brake bias and on-throttle differential you can also change under Parc Fermé. And that is a Williams driver without a helmet. Ben Finch a little bit unsafe. Their head is going to be slightly cold as they skate their way across the line. What's it going to be? It's a 26.9 for the Williams, who can't quite match their teammate for the moment. The 46, the Valentino Rossi numbered Williams of Ben Finch, drifting his way through turn 1 again. But yeah, going back to my original point that, you know, if it is a dry race, do you go for a dry setup, set yourself up better for the race, or do you maximize your opportunity in qualifying? Do you get the higher position by using a wet setup, not compromising too much, and just bearing the brunt of everything in the race, and falling back a little bit and just trying to defend as best you can? Of course, you need to have the balance. Kinnan goes even quicker. How he's finding more time, I do not know. A 25.150 for the reigning champion. So Jeff said dry in 10 minutes, but then it is Jeff. So look to be maybe dry and the rain to stop by the time we get to Q3, but it still will be a slightly damp track, and then I'm guessing a dry race as well, for that matter. So it's going to be a changeable conditions, and again, as I said, it's going to be those that can adapt quickly and find that pace quick that will negotiate the best. Koru, the first man to get within a second of Kinnan, he celebrates that by saying hello to the marshals off the exit of the side of the road. Going to pop over for a cup of tea. He's very close to Tyler Miracle, only 6/1000ths of a second between Koru and Tyler. As Ben Finch finds a bit more time, a 26.001 on the cusp of a 25, but still nowhere near his teammate in terms of pure pace. But it's still a Williams 1-2 in the wet conditions of qualifying 2. 7 minutes and 18 seconds on the clock left to go in qualifying. It is going to be the top 10, as you know, that will go through into the pole shootout. So Q3 sets the bottom 5 positions off the grid, Q2 sets 15th to 10th, and then Q3 sets 15th to 11th, and then Q3 sets 10th to 1st for the grid. And free tyre choices for everyone, seeing as though it is a wet qualifying, and unless we don't set any laps on slicks in this qualifying session, it will be those who get free tyre choice. If it wasn't the case though, those who qualified outside the top 10 would get free tyre choice anyway, and those inside the top 10 would have to start the race. They set their fastest time in Q2 on Lewis Keaton in the Haas, putting in a heck of a lot of lock to go for a V-line shape line through the penultimate quarter. Go in early, bite it back, and that is a Mercedes in the wall, getting the Haas caught out a little bit as he runs over debris. No punctures, luckily for them. Who is that in the pit lane? Not entirely sure. The Mercedes, is it of Koru? It is, yeah. Koru had a mistake going into the pit lane, must have smacked into the, as it bulges out, sort of the pit wall comes round, and as you go in, it's very easy to understeer if you brake a bit too late and just go into that wall like that. But yeah, very easy mistake to do, but in the wet, you cannot blame him. 6th and 7th then, Lewis Kitton's teammate Bluefoot at the moment on the cusp of being eliminated, and it's between the two Hasses at the moment of who is going to get eliminated. Luke not far off the Hasses either, around about, that is going to be 23 thousandths of a second between Lewis and Luke. As we enter the closing stages of qualifying 2, can Bluefoot improve? Didn't quite catch. No, he can't, because that's in the wall. That could be out of qualifying. That's a big crash, a big hit to the side of the Haas, but I think he's gotten away scot-free with that. He just needs to wait and let everyone get through. Wait for a clear track. He doesn't want to pull out into traffic. First gear, very nicely done from the Haas as he goes for another spin. Puts the power down a bit too quickly. You're going to light up the rears. He needs to pull in, though. Not the best day for the Hasses then. And goodness, Steiner certainly is not going to be happy with that one. Love him or hate him, he certainly is a passionate guy about his racing. C1 on his lap in the AlphaTauri. AlphaTauri's looking strong as always. Solvent Sniffer looked good on debut and has looked good since. C1 also very good. Bit of a twisty and turny rear end off the exit of turn 1. Yeah, Corey hit the pit wall. I knew it. Absolutely knew it. As he goes for another drift off the exit of turn 3. C1 in a Japanese powered car, of course the Honda powertrain for the AlphaTauri and Red Bull. It's going for a nice little Tokyo drift. So the Honda definitely designed for a bit of drifting, maybe, especially in the wet. It's going to help out. Let's see if he can give us a couple more little slides on his way around. If he is watching the stream, go on C1. Go for a couple of drifts through the sequencer corner, and see if he lets us down or not. Is he going to go for it? Just smash the throttle down and get the rear end out, or is he going to be boring over the curb? Let's see. Anyone else fancy to give us a bit of a drift? Go on, Corey. You're comfortably through into the top 10. Go out and give us some drifts. Something to watch in Q2, rather than people going around in the wet and trying to improve upon their time, which at the moment Bluefoot, Crow, Lewis, Luke and Daniel all need to do, and try and beat King Eric's time of a 1:55, or 27:155 I should say. And towards turn 12 goes Solvent Sniffer. 14 people now watching. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. You join us in the closing stages of Q2. Ah, Corey, you bore fest. But yeah, you join us in the closing stages of qualifying 2. It is Kiernan that leads the way of a Williams 1-2. 25:150 is the time on the timing sheets. It is now very much drying up. You can see the rain has stopped. Will we see slick tyres towards the end of this qualifying session? Of course, the track is going to dry up very quickly with 15 Formula 1 cars going around very quickly. Is anyone going to gamble? Of course, you want to be on the slicks at the right time. Do you smack on a set of softs now and just go around the track slowly to not wear out the tyres and then be on track for the optimal moment? That's Solvent Sniffer. Purple to the first sector though, still on the intermediates, so it's not drying up too quick. Still a little bit of standing water to keep those inters cool, but the track will be improving slightly. Let's see if anyone does go out on the slicks. Softs 9 seconds slower still. Wow, that is going to drop like absolute madness though. That delta, if you keep flicking between wets and slicks, that is going to be changing all the time. This track is going to be improving very quickly, I can tell you that. You can already see the dry line start to form on the racing line. You can see where it's slightly drier as Solvent Sniffer invalidates his lap time. He should be okay in P5, but might want to go again. Anyone who hasn't come out onto track probably should if they want one more run in qualifying. We'll go on board with LB. Haven't seen much of the Alpine as he goes for a lovely little drift out of turn 5, smashes the 150 board and into the wall he goes, damages his front wing, and that could be his qualifying attempt over. He's in P6, should be okay to get through, but tried to catch it once, caught it twice, and all nearly into the path of the Aston Martin. I think that looked a little bit closer on the TV cam than it actually was. The top 4 all confident they can make it through. 1 minute 30 left in qualifying 2. As T. Gregor starts his final flying lap. At the moment, both Aston Martins are going to get their way through. Let's see if that holds true. Going through and towards turn number 2. Keeping it tight as always, just to minimise the amount of understeer you're going to get still looks very wet, and there still might be a couple of droplets of rain in the sky, so intermediate is definitely the best bet, but it will be dry for Q3, I'm sure, if not very much like this. Purple to the first sector goes T. Gregors, so even in these drying conditions, he goes very wide, though doesn't invalidate. He can still keep going technically, as I believe King Eric improved to P6, dropping T. Gregors down to P9, and very much on the cusp of elimination. Bluefoot needs to improve. That is definitely not a safe time, as Lewis Kearton gets disqualified from the session for driving the wrong way. He was down in P13, and that's ruined his chances of getting anywhere near the top 10, as T. Gregors rounds the second sector, 2 tenths down in his time. That slide definitely didn't help, as he goes through turn 12 in towards 13, and then of course 14 to round off the lap. Daniel Stott and Luke looking to round off their lap. This is Luke now across the line. Can he improve? It's a 26.5 to get through. It's not enough. It's only P11, less than a tenth off getting through into the third part of qualifying. T. Gregors, can he improve? Even if only slightly, no, he can't. 2 tenths down. There's still Bluefoot left to improve. He was a couple of tenths down to the first sector. Kill the Crow. Is he improving? Daniel Stott has one more lap. He's 3 tenths up. Will T. Gregors make it through that track? Going off track could actually have very much cost him in getting through to the third part of qualifying. T. Gregors usually very good at qualifying, and then of course in the race. Lewis Kearton have to be very careful about doing it, because you know what this game is like. It will disqualify you for absolutely anything and everything. Bluefoot rounding the final corner now. He was a little bit down on his time, needs to find a little bit of time through this final sector. On the run to the line, is it going to be enough for 26.5? Is T. Gregors going to hang on? He stays P12. Does Bluefoot still kill the Crow? He's a little bit up on his time as well. Needs to find a lot more through this middle sector. Daniel Stott in towards the penultimate corner. These inters are going to be absolutely dead and overheating. Chucks it into the final corner, jumping over that curve. That might be slightly slower. Could have cost him a bit of time. On the run to the line, a 26.5 will get him through. Is T. Gregors going to hang on? It's only 13th as Kill the Crow, though. He's got a bundle of time on his delta. You saw that 8 tenths. No! He spun on the exit, and that's cost him the third part of qualifying. A huge crash for the McLaren, as Kill the Crow will start the race from P14, and that definitely could have been enough to see him through into Q3. That was big. All he had was one traction zone, one corner. It was a straight line, but he's out and won't be taking any further part in qualifying. So I think T. Gregors will hang on there to take P10, unless Luke can round the final corner. He's invalidated his time. That will stay P11. So T. Gregors, by the skin of his teeth, gets his way through. So Kiernan, again, top in the session for Williams, a 125.150. The Solomon Sniffer P2, and all British 1-2-3 in the wet conditions. And I think actually a 1-2-3-4 for the Brits in wet conditions, and that goes to show how good we are in the wet. Tyler Miracle in P5, King Eric P6, LB P7, C1 P8, Reese Thomas and T. Gregors rounding off those who will be taking further part in qualifying. Luke, Bluefoot, Stott, Kill the Crow and Lewis Kearton is out of qualifying. Yeah, Lewis Kearton very much should be and very much will be upset with that one. 20 people now watching live. It's a pleasure to have you all in, and hope you are enjoying this stream. Not even got to the main part of the action yet, so stay tuned. 20 people now in. Welcome. And it is pretty much bone dry for the third part of qualifying Q3. The shootout for pole position. Time is ticking. 12 minutes on the clock. Now dwindling down to 11:40. That's the Red Bull of Spiderina, or Reese Thomas heading out. It is dry indeed. It's going to be very cold and maybe a little bit damp on the circuit, and so Reese going to need to try and maybe get used to the amount of grip he's going to have, because he's not been used to it for the entirety of qualifying so far. Just look at the grip already. The track bone dry. Is going to be getting those tyres into a nice bit of temperature. Through turn number 2 goes the Red Bull. Up the hill, quick little flick on the steering wheel through turn 4, blind apex, going over the crest towards turn 5. Just keep it tight to that inside curb, run it out to the outside. Don't use that sausage on the outside, though. You risk spinning the car through turn 6 and 7. Goes the Red Bull. He wants to get some laps in. He's in a hurry on this outlap. You often see a lot of people. You often see a lot of people go quite slow and save their tyres, but this Red Bull, not at all going for it. Not at all going for that strategy. He's just balls to the wall, I think, so far in this outlap. He doesn't really care about this compound tyre. He just wants to get the banker in and get himself warmed up as quickly as possible. But the problem you run with that is doing mistakes like that, and also overheating the tyres and wearing them out a little bit too much, getting some blistering, some graining on, and going on, and that's not the best thing to do. But the first dry lap of qualifying then, and we've had to wait for Q3 to do it. On towards turn 1, looking for the 100 board just before this curve, down towards third gear, second gear to use that extra little bit of engine braking. Absolutely perfect from Reece Thomas. DRS open, keep it to the right hand side as you come down towards turn 2, and again keep it tight to the left hand side. You don't want the car to wash out. Get that throttle down as quickly as you can, completely flat as you dip down towards turn 3, and then you turn your eyes back up and to the apex, the blind apex of turn 4. Flick it to the left and try to use all the track on the right hand side. It to the left hand side again as you go through turn 5. Keep it tight to the right hand side as best you can. Don't hit that curb towards turn 6 and 7. Braking at the 50 down to third. Be committed, a little bit more committed with the steering there. You want to get the exit as straight a line as you can. Turn 8, just a bit of a lift and a downshift again for turn 9, and then into 10 completely flat. 11, just a bit of a flick, and you can see going a little bit wide. Doesn't invalidate because he lost time at 54.3 to the second sector in towards turn 12. Chucking it through third gear, get over that curve, use the track on the exit, bring it back to the right, and then down to the left. Keep it tight once more. Don't use that curb. Use the curb on the outside though. Bring it back to the left and chuck it in early apex, and then just keep it tight all the way around. Throttle as soon as you can. DRS open. That's a lap of the Hungary. Going to say 1:15.898 to get the ball rolling. Who's that just behind? Kourou looking on a very good lap. That is LB, a 15.831. Just over half a tenth between first and second. Can Kourou spoil their fun though? A very quick driver in the wet is this Mercedes. DRS open then as he blitzes his way towards the line. It's a 15.248 to set the pace in qualifying. But where is Kinnan? He's invalidated his lap. What would it have been? Nothing special. Solvent Sniffer goes purple to the first sector in towards the chicane. Takes a very nice and tidy line over that curb. Completely committed. A 15.0 for Ben Finch in the Williams to set provisional fastest. I love racing in the wet. So do most Brits, I think. It's very fun. It's a challenge and it's something different. But in the dry, you get a lot better wheel to wheel action. But in the wet, if it happens, it's even more spectacular because it's like, how are you doing this? It's hard to go one wide through the wet and keep your concentration and not spin, let alone 2 or even 3. Solvent Sniffer though, through the second sector looked strong. Through the third sector looked even stronger. DRS open on the run to line. Where's he going to put him as pole for the time being? A 1:14.836 for the AlphaTauri, setting the pace strong early doors. C1 in towards turn 2. The other AlphaTauri trying to match his teammate as best he can. He wants to at least be in a low 15 to do so. But first, yeah, so very much true. C1 going a little bit wide on his first run, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on his second and third. You can see the sun just breaking as the clouds depart, and you can see the sun start to come through. A 14.703 for Tyler Miracle in the Alpine though. Puts himself provisional fastest. Where's Kin? And he's coming into the pit lane. T. Gregors, where can he put himself? He's invalidated his lap time. Unfortunately for him, King Eric through the penultimate corner. He's just behind his Aston Martin teammate. In fact, gets the car rotated rather nicely as he goes in towards the final corner. Keeping it tight. Left hand side, DRS open. It's a pretty decent lap indeed. It's going to go P4, a 15.136 for King Eric. Very strong driver in qualifying, even better in the race. Race pace are definitely going to help you around here, but so too is quali. 6 minutes and 35 seconds left to go of qualifying then, and we'll get ourselves into the race shortly after. Kinnan still yet to set a lap time, as is T. Gregors and C1. They're going to put a lot of pressure on themselves for their second and third. At least they've still got one more opportunity for a banker lap time. But if they invalidate their second run, it's going to be absolutely all pressure on that final run in Q3, and you do not want that to happen. You want a good banker time in your pocket, just so you can chill out a little bit, so you can rest easy and push as hard as you can without risking starting 10th. So that's the worst thing you can do. Through the penultimate corner for Ben Finch as he pulls himself into the pit lane. King Eric Also coming into the pit lane, we're going to wait for Koru, who's coming out on a fresh set of tyres for his second run of 3 in qualifying 3. And towards turn 1. And DRS open even on the outlap. Unless your name is Koru and you don't fancy having DRS open on your outlap, that's more than perfectly okay. And for those of you who may be particularly new to Formula 1, we've just had the wet conditions, of course. And, well, there's obviously you've got, in the wet conditions, you struggle with a lot of front-end grip. Because of the water and displacing it. So what you have is when you turn the steering wheel, you often, the front wheels just don't have enough grip to keep up with the amount of steering lock you're putting in, and that is often why you see cars just pushing on and just losing that grip and sailing out to the outside, not particularly where you want to go. And then of course in the wet, it's very easy to put a little bit too much braking force in, and the brakes will lock up because the tyres don't have enough grip to withstand that, so the tyres will just stop, and that causes you to understeer. So of course I'll be a couple of people have asked the question of what is the difference between understeering and locking up, and there isn't much difference. Locking up will cause you to understeer if it's on the front, it will cause you to oversteer if it's on the rears, but understeer is where the front tyres don't have enough grip to compete, and you'll often see that through fast corners and obviously and slow corners if you get the throttle down a little bit too quick. You'll see Koru chucks it through, and you can see how the front tyres just ran out of grip and he just pushed on all the way to the exit of the circuit, and that's understeer. And then he'll probably lock up because that's what Koru does. In fact, doesn't? No, stand 6 and 7. But yeah, that is the difference between locking up and understeer. Pretty much similar things. Lockups will cause understeer, and understeer can cause lockups. In some cases, but LB 14.499, 3 minutes and 30 seconds left of qualifying 3, and at the moment it's LB that is on a provisional pole as he goes for a lovely little spin off the exit of turn 1. Doesn't damage his front wing, luckily, but is not having particularly the best day out there, despite being pole. I mean, still like to get to the end of qualifying, and crashing definitely won't help that. He goes very wide. That will be thanks to the wing damage he might have picked up. While we can't necessarily see it on the commentary stream, it might be affecting him quite a bit. Closing stages of qualifying, then Solvent Sniffer out on a lap time. He might be held up a little bit by LB, who's sort of getting in the way. He used up a lot of the curb, really opens up turn 8, chucks it through 4th gear, keeps it in 4th all the way through turn 9, over the curb, in towards turn 10, completely flat to the left hand side, use that curb on the inside, just completely commit to going off the circuit, and you won't invalidate. That is a strange thing, but he goes purple then to the middle sector, and it's all to gain in the final sector. 2 minutes 25. We're in the closing stages of Q3. It's LB and Alpine 1-2 with Ben Finch P3. Kinnan still yet to set a time. He's going to do so very soon. Solvent Sniffer rounds off the final corner. Can he put it on provisional pole? Can he get itself on the front row across the line? It's second place, a 14.578. Where's Kinnan? He is now starting his lap, probably his final run of Q3, his only run in Q3. C1 retired from the session. He's had a spin off the exit of turn 5, going into 5 off the exit of 4. Kinnan, is he purple to the first sector? No. A 26.475, close to invalidating it, has to go through the AlphaTauri. That surprised him a lot. He might have to back off this time in order to get another run in and not burn out the tyres too much, and he definitely will, because that's a huge slide through 6 and 7. T. Gregors also on a lap. He's backing off. Not long left to go in this session. Solvent Sniffer has gone for a spin and has gone to sniff the barriers quite weirdly. He's joined his teammate. They've both spun in pretty similar spaces, and that's going to be his attempt at qualifying over because of wing damage. He's currently P2. Tyler Miracle looking to improve. No, he's not, because he's got no front wing, so P3 at the best for him. Ben Finch setting up another lap to go again. 1 minute 10 left. More the final laps for pretty much everyone. King Eric on an outlap also. Corey on an outlap. Fresh tyres for the pair of them. That's the best tyres of the field, because a lot of other people are on worn tyres. So let's see what Corey can do. Very quick in qualifying trim. Very quick in race trim, provided he makes no mistakes. That's all part of it. This is King Eric. I think he's just put himself P5 with a 15.136, or starting his final lap, one of the two. Let's see if he can improve. Final stages of Q3 then. Kiernan now starting his final run. Very nice through turn 1 and towards turn 2 to the right hand side. But for the 50, chuck it in early, keep it tight. As I've said, third gear, roll it through, get that power down as quickly as you can through turn 3, run it out again, and then keep it to the right hand side. Just wait for the apex, look for the start of the curve. Just after it, down to 6th, goes a little bit wide, doesn't invalidate, thankfully for Kiernan, because otherwise it'd be P10 and right at the back amongst the midfield. Towards turn 6, over the curb, nicely done, very much committed and very much pushing it to the limit. 4th gear through turn 8 and through turn 9, hardly on the brakes, just pitching the car in. LB retired, he thinks that he can't improve, or has gone for a spin off the exit of turn 11. In fact, we're going to see it just now. There's LB, the provisional pole sitter, Kiernan purple to the middle sector. This is looking good. His one and only run in Q3 could be enough to see him on the front row at the very least. A 14.578 for Solvent Sniffer, a 14.499 for LB. Can the Williams, he's topped Q1 at Q2, can he top Q3 as well? Across the line, it is pole, it's a 14.340, but don't forget that Corey was also on a lap, he's invalidated it. T. Greg is the only man that can stop him, other than his teammate Ben Finch. He's stopped on the exit. T. Gregors through the final corner. Can he improve? Can he knock Kiernan off the pole position? No, he can't. It's only P8, a 15.274. So, after topping Q1, Q2 and Q3, Kiernan takes pole, a 14.340 for the Williams driver with LB in P2. Simon Sniffer rounds off P3 with Tyler Miracle in P4. Ben Finch rounding off the top 5 with King Eric P6. Corey P7 couldn't improve and find a little bit extra time in his final 2 runs and stays at 7. T. Greg is P8 with Reece Thomas P9 and C1 rounding off the top 10. All drivers will get a free tyre choice going into the race, so strategy is very much anyone's game with this one, and it's going to be an enthralling battle. A very short-ish run towards the first corner. It's not the longest straight here in Hungary. And it is wet for the race. This is even spicier now. Everyone's going to be on the wet tyres. It only just cleared up for the race, for Q3. And now it's already wet again. They're going to have to readjust everything in terms of their driving. They've gotten used to a lot of grip. And that's all going to be undone. And a couple of people unhappy with their qualifying 3 lap times because they said they could have been pole had the AlphaTauri not been in the middle of the track. We go green for the formation lap. We're underway. Kiernan leads us round a very wet Hungarian Grand Prix circuit. The Hungaroring in Budapest has brought us some very wet races in the past. LB wants to get a move on. He's overtaken on the formation lap, which is not something you often see. Everyone on the intermediates. It's still quite wet out there. Interesting if it's going to dry up or get worse throughout the race. Either way it can happen. Yeah, indeed it was a big a big one from LB. I believe that was who you were referring to, Callum. Yeah, LB, he's off on one. He's using this lap to get used to the wet conditions again. I think that's what he's doing, and well, luckily for him, there's no damage on the formation lap. Already a big crash for LB off the exit of turn 5, and he goes flipping around and finds himself back in P2 with some probably very hot tyres, I'd imagine. And a very bruised ego, because we got that one on stream. Predicted pit stop strategy there, and F1 Insights powered by AWS. 1 stop pitting around about half distance, or a 2 stop going from 3rd and then 2/3 of the way in. But you would want to. All there's contact between the 2 race leaders on the formation lap. LB really not driving well, and they've both been disqualified from the session. They're going to have to start. They're going to be teleported back to the grid. They're both going to be on very cold tyres. This could be advantage Solvent Sniffer. I don't know quite what LB was doing. Reece Thomas and Luke both disqualified as well. They're not disqualified from the race. They're disqualified from the formation lap for contact with another driver. which is strange. Don't know how they've managed to do that. Keep a gap. It's like a safety car. Keep a gap to the car in front, and you'll be absolutely fine. I don't know what LB was thinking. No idea. Maybe he needs to go to Specsavers or something. I'm sure they still offer free appointments. He might want to use that free appointment. Might help him out a little bit. Might help him go a little bit quicker as well. But he's P2. Can't knock him too much. Just hope he doesn't do it for real. When damage is on and the lights go green, or the lights go out, in fact. They don't particularly go green. They just go out. It's 5 lights out and away we go. Dry in 10 minutes according to Jeff. Well, it's going to be a wet start at the very least. Waiting for Jamie F1. The Ferrari at the back of the grid to line up. And the green flag will be waved. The marshal walks across the track. That's when the 5 red lights will illuminate your screen. Go out. And it's the run down towards turn 1. Kiernan on pole. Here we go. 2 lights. 3 lights. 4 lights, 5 red lights for the Hungarian Grand Prix, and we're underway, and it's a pretty tentative start from everyone, but a pretty good start from Tyler Miracle. Kiernan leads well off pole. That's Solvent Sniffer already into P2, very much ahead. LB getting swallowed up by the pack, both Alpines in fact, really getting swallowed up. That's the Alfa Romeo of Luke trying to make up positions at the start. There's Ben Finch up into third, the 2 Aston Martins, King Eric up into P4, Koru up into P5 as they all negotiate T1, I believe, relatively well. There's a Haas of Bluefoot very much off and into the grass as everyone just tries to keep it clean, try not to get themselves into any trouble, but that's Reece Thomas collecting the Alpine of Tyler Miracle. Oh no, a big spin. He resets the track. That is very, very naughty from the Red Bull there. Stops dead in his tracks, does Bluefoot and his teammate Sparderina as they will go up the hill towards turn 4 for the first time. It's Kiernan that leads Solvent Sniffer and Ben Finch, Koru and King Eric, your top 5 as they go through turn number 5 for the first time of 35. That's a lot of 5s for sure, and that's T. Gregors in the in P6. And chasing after his teammate just in front as they all go through turn 8. Corey just in front trying to acclimatise himself to the circuit as best he can. Kill the crow on the back of Taylor Hammers a little bit further back, but these first couple of laps you'll see a lot of people just slowly getting used to the circuit. Don't want to go for any bold moves just yet. And let's have a quick look at how it stacks up in terms of positions gained. It's +8 from C1. That is a very, very good couple of places gained. LB down 13. Lewis Kirton up 6 after a disappointing Q2. As Tyler Miracle looking to gain some places, Kirton practically pushing him through. They pretty much mount each other and turn your eyes away. PG-13, ladies and gentlemen, they're still inside each other going through the final corner. The Alpine ghosts through the Haas as we go through and claims P8 and takes it off him very harshly. So T. Greg is still on the back of his teammate. Solvent Sniffer trying to keep pace with Kiernan T, but oh my word, the championship leader absolutely flying. This is LB on the back of Jamie in towards turn 1. The 2 TikTokers going side by side into the first corner. Down the inside goes the Alpine, but the Ferrari going to use the karting line. The grippier line goes off the circuit, gets forced off by the Alpine. The Red Bull trying to find a way through. Side by side they go. Jamie at the moment stays ahead, but the Alpine's going to try and come back at him around the outside, use that grippier line. The Ferrari just edges himself ahead though and keeps that position. Not quite sure what position because the tower doesn't particularly like me too much. I believe it's P14. Here it is now sorting itself out. Solvent Sniffer giving Kiernan a good run for his money, putting pressure on as best he can, but not quite good enough. Doesn't quite have enough pace to in fact go for any particular move. As we've got yellow flags, I believe Taylor Hammers has gone for a spin at the back of the grid. P18 for him. And not been the best day in the office at all. Kiernan T comfortably leading Solvent Sniffer. Ben Finch a little bit further back from that. Corey trying to close him down, but he's got to be looking in his mirrors because he's got both Aston Martins there. King Eric and T. Greg is very good in the race. The pair of them. They work well, they communicate well, and definitely have good team chemistry, which is what you need in Formula 1. As much as it is the World Drivers' Championship, you also have the World Constructors' Championship to think about, and it's very much a team effort. 28.030 for Kiernan as we round off lap 2 and on to lap 3. King Eric trying to close on Corey, but again without the DRS helping him out, it's going to be quite difficult. This is Tyler Miracle on the back of C1 who defends. Tyler though very late under brakes, trying to close that gap and get that run off of turn 1. Can he do it? He needs to get that throttle power down as quickly as he can. Goes for a bit of a skate across the grass. That's not going to help his run into the top 7 very much. And T. Gregors and King Eric still hot in pursuit of Corey. Not much happening because, again, in the wet, you go slightly offline and you just lose a lot of grip and end up going well off the track. As that is King Eric with an almighty save. Saves it once, saves it twice. What a save from King Eric. I thought we were in Hungary, not Tokyo, with drifts like that. King Eric putting on a show for us. We wanted Corey to do it in Q3. King Eric's done it for us on lap 3. of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Very nicely done. He's going to give himself a pat on the back for that one, preferably not now. And he still managed to close up on Corey on this lap despite that save. That is incredible. Oh, Corey goes for one himself, clips that curb, goes off the track, manages to hold it as well. So very nicely done from both drivers to keep themselves out of the wall. Just managed to back off the throttle enough and keep the car in check. Didn't want to brake. The worst thing you could do probably is brake, because you risk locking the rears and then the car will go around. Kiernan even quicker at 27.970. It's around about a tenth quicker than his previous best, and that's just how consistent he is, even in wet conditions. Very difficult to stay consistent. He leads 2.1 seconds ahead of Kiernan as the track slowly starts to improve. Not quite there for dries just yet, but will be there soon, I'm sure. T. Gregor's still trying to chase down. C1 and Tyler Miracle are both trying to join this fight, but can't quite. Kill the Crow on the back of Luke and Daniel Stott for the top 10, and for points to be awarded. I believe we still run the FIA World Championship point system, where it's 25 for win, but I'm not entirely sure. I will double check when I can. King Eric on the back of Corey for the top 4. He's losing touch of the top 3. It's a double Williams podium, and Solvent Sniffer up there all by himself in P2, while his teammates down in P7. Definitely the quicker of the two, and giving Kiernan a run for his money. Close enough to put pressure on, not quite close enough to launch an attack, but definitely enough to make Kiernan think, well, he's still there. I can't be getting too complacent. Can't be taking the foot off the gas too much. But LB, a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting, and a full safety car is out, not a VSC. The actual car is out onto circuit. There's no DNFs, and there's not a ton of debris on the track to call out the safety car, but must have been something that happened. They wouldn't just call a safety car for absolutely nothing, or it might do. We never know. No one's coming into the pit lane, not quite dry enough for slicks, unless anyone wants to gamble and thinking that it would be dry enough for slicks in maybe 1 or 2 laps time. That's an interesting strategy choice. It could work out for him. If it doesn't, maybe Taylor. He's got nothing to lose. He's got nothing to lose. You're in this position. You've got nothing at all to lose. You're in 18th. You're quite a far way off points. Do you come in for slicks? Gamble under the safety car? No. LB though is coming in. Is it for a new front wing? I'm going to guess it's for a new front wing. Maybe slicks. How far are we away off slicks? If any driver is in the chat, how far away are we off of slick tyres? Give us a nice bit of insight. I would love to know. And of course, this terminology, a slick tyre, is the dry compound tyre, the soft mediums or the hards. And basically we call them slicks because they've got no grooves on the tyre. It's just a slick, smooth tyre all the way around, and that's Tyler Miracle also out of this race. Had a spin off of turn 3 under the safety car. He's done a George Russell and has put himself out of this race. Unfortunately, our first DNF, and that's probably the probable cause for a safety car. Weird that it happened under a safety car that nothing happened to cause, but maybe the game was foreshadowing it and preempting it, and got us prepared for the inevitable that was to come from Tyler Miracle. Our first DNF, 5 laps in, a 7th of the way through the Hungarian Grand Prix. And it's Kiernan that leads from Solvent Sniffer. Ben Finch P3, Corey P4, King Eric P5, and T. Greg is P6. That's pretty much been stationary for the entirety of the race so far. C1 and P7, Lewis Kirton P8. A great start from both the AlphaTauri and Haas drivers to be where they are. Daniel Stott P9, and his teammate rounds off the top 10. Kill the Crow in P11. Jamie F1, a nice start from last on the grid, up into P12. P13 for Bluefoot. The other Haas doing relatively well and trying to make up some more places, I'm sure. The 2 Red Bulls then come next. Reese Thomas in P14. Spartarino P15. Taylor Hammers and LB round off the grid. Well, Taylor Hammers is looking racy with the Red Bulls, nearly into the back of one of them and side by side with the other, and keeps the position. That was naughty. That was very naughty indeed, as the 2 Aston Martins are swapping places also. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. Again, not entirely sure. Taylor Hammers this. Yeah, that's caused confusion. Jamie F1 has been given a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with its Bluefoot, and because Taylor Hammers overtook the Red Bull, he had to give that place back, backed off. No one else wanted to overtake, and it's just caused a heck of confusion. So I'm not sure what Taylor Hammers was doing with that one. But it's all sorted itself out. Bluefoot, of course, the biggest loser of that, and of course Jamie getting a penalty as well. So should be back under green flag racing at the end of this lap, going on to lap 7. We are all here and bunched up and ready to go. And the debris is clear. Kiernan will lead us off. Solvent Sniffer, this is probably his best chance to actually improve upon his position of P2. Got a good start from 3rd. Managed to get up into P3, of course, on the cleaner side of the grid. In the wet, you want to be starting on the left, and that does help as opposed to P2, and you do tend to get better starts on the left-hand side. And a bit of confusion going on in the Discord. Reese Thomas has been told to overtake on the safety car and didn't want to and got a penalty because of it. That's a weird one. Safety car though in the slap, as I said, race control have confirmed it. Kiernan warming up his tyres. He becomes the effective safety car, can control the pack all the way between when the safety car comes into the pit lane and then to the timing line. And that's when we go green once more, but he controls the pace. Can't go ridiculously slowly and can't of course bolt then smack on the brakes to try and trick people. That would be a bit mean and would be a recipe for disaster. Through the final corner then, Solvent Sniffer needs to be all over the rear end of him and react well off this final corner. You can see he wants to get going, so too does Ben Finch. He's bolted. We go back green once more. Solvent Sniffer has reacted well, but so too has Ben Finch. They're side by side. There's a big crash to the backside. That I think is T. Gregors going round. This is Corey, Ben and Solvent Sniffer going side by side in towards turn 1. The Williams on the outside trying to dance his way around. Solvent Sniffer defends. Kiernan 6 tenths ahead already. He leads off the safety car restart through turn 1 and down towards turn 2. The AlphaTauri hangs on just about. They're 3 abreast towards the backside. This is Lewis Keaton trying to make a couple of places. He's on the inside of King Eric. C1 going up the inside of the Mercedes. Corey with a bit of contact side by side through turn 3. He's going to go all the way around the outside. What a move from C1. He's going to be the inside for turn 4, but Corey keeps his nerve in through turn 4. No way is this going to work, and of course one of them has to go around. It's C1 bouncing off into the wall and a damaged front wing for the AlphaTauri. That is a big shame, but never ever going to go 2 into 1 through turn 4. That is just always asking for someone to go around. So Kiernan leads, Solomon Sniffer, Ben Finch P3, Corey 4th, and Lewis Keaton a great restart into 5th. King Eric P6, Reese Thomas up into 7th. They're all pushing each other through. The track now really starting to dry up. You can see the rain has stopped. And this is now changeable conditions. This is where anyone can do anything. As Solomon Sniffer trying to gain on Kiernan. King Eric looking to the right hand side of Keaton in towards turn 12. Can't quite get there. But a big crash for C1. He had a great restart and just couldn't convert. Is anyone going to dive in? No, not quite. Still not good enough for the slick tyres just yet through the final corner. No changes for the race lead. Could be for P4 though. Lewis Keaton in the slipstream and using his ERS to close the gap to the Mercedes, but just not quite enough. They're all going to stay stationed in single file through turn 1. Lap 8 of 35. Approaching the pit window because people are going to want to come into slicks as soon as that DRS gets enabled, and we know the slicks will be quicker. That's usually when you know is when the stewards enable DRS, or I say race control. It's not really it's the stewards and race control, sort of a bit of both. Enable DRS. Lewis Keaton all over the back of Corey, who goes a little bit deep through turn 5. If the Haas can get the drive off, that is exactly what he's done. He's going to have the look towards turn 6 and 7, gets himself ahead before the corner. Does he get it stopped? No, he doesn't. The Mercedes comes back at him around the outside. He caught the Aston Martin off, and that is Corey going for a bit of a spin, and King Eric got a bit compromised there. Lewis Keaton keeps the position. Reese Thomas gains out of it as well. 2 places up into P5, and he jumped the curb, Lewis Keaton, and well, Corey should have gone for the under and over. Instead went around the outside, and Lewis Keaton with no control over the curb. This is Reese Thomas licking, sticking and sending it up the inside. Very nicely done. That is how you do a dive bomb. That's Lewis Keaton very much out of shape though, and loses the place to King Eric and maybe even Daniel Stott as well through the penultimate corner. They're going to be side by side, 2 by 2 maybe through the final corner. King Eric hanging on for P4. Reese Thomas trying to put that pressure on, get the good run. Solvent Sniffer also in within 1 second of Kiernan. King Eric going to the right hand side to defend, bringing it back to the left to break the toe. Back to the right. The Rebel keeps it to the left. It's going to be the outside for turn 1. Can he go all the way around the outside? He's braver under brakes. He's just about alongside, but the Aston Martin takes the racing line. The Rebel trying to go underneath him, gets it done, but can't get the drive off the corner to put the pressure on in towards turn 2 and mount an attack. And he's going to have to sit behind for P5, but a valiant effort nonetheless between the two. And the track is drying slowly but surely. And Solomon Sniffer really coming into his own in this sort of weather. As Bluefoot comes into the pit lane, is he going to gamble for slicks? We never know what he's going to do. Daniel Stott on the back of this train. Lewis Keaton, a bit of a mobile chicane in his way. Daniel Stott pretty quick in these changeable conditions, it seems. And the Alfa Romeo, ever since the restart, has had that momentum through 6 and 7. It's the Haas followed by the 2 Alfa Romeos. As we've got Yellow Flash who set the 2. That's the McLaren, I believe, have killed the Crow going round, and again losing that place to Corey, who is trying to recover. That's Bluefoot gambling on the hards, and we'll see. I think all eyes will be on him and his pace for the time being, as Sullivan Sniffer's out of the 1 second range. Again, Yellow Flash who's 1 and 2. That's Bluefoot going round. Hards might not be the best way to go about things. They're going to be hard to warm up in these cold conditions, and they're not going to be particularly grippy. You want to be softs or mediums at the most in these wet conditions. However, C1 is saying to Corey that all the time you have to leave a space. It was an ambitious attack in towards turn 4. 2 and 1 don't often go, and I would say racing incident. I think Corey could have left more space. C1 probably should have backed out into a corner like that. It's a racetrack. You can overtake wherever you want, don't get me wrong, but there's better places to do it than others. For sure, that's for sure. And now we're starting to see when people lock up that rubber line where the tyres have locked up on the track, and that is showing how dry it now is starting to become, nearly completely dry, a little bit greasy. You can now see the black rubber lines of where people have locked up into turn 4, and very, very soon will we see a couple of people come in, and it may be this lap, but I'm not entirely sure. It all depends on how people are finding it. Still a lot of understeer for Sullivan Sniffer. Let's see how the Rainmaster's handling things out there through turn 11. Gets the car turning very nicely. There's yellow flags through sector 3. I think Bluefoot has had another spin on the slicks, and that's going to say to everyone else, DRS enabled though. It is dry enough for slicks apparently, according to race control. Is Kiernan going to push the button and come in? Daniel Stott, a 3-second time penalty. He's pulling to the right hand side. In he comes. He takes that and says, well, I'm coming in then. So too is Sullivan Sniffer. Ben Finch coming in too. There's going to be a double stack at Williams, but he's going to lose more time by staying out, so it's worth the risk. King Eric comes in too. Reese Thomas follows in. It's going to be a very busy pit lane right now. Luke stays out, does not want to double stack, would rather lose the time. Jamie F1 in, he's into the top 10. Spiderina stays out. Taylor Hammers comes in. LB, we will see in just a moment's time. They're putting on mediums. Sullivan Sniffer going hard. Will he make it to the end? We don't know. But different strategies going on there. 2.5 is the gap. Sullivan Sniffer really struggling with the cold tyres. He needs to get them warmed up. Kiernan though, straight onto those slicks and already finding the grip where it shouldn't be found. Sullivan Sniffer, these hard tyres really not boasting to be very, very well in these wetter conditions. Still very damp, and you can see he's having to take maybe 1 or 2 attempts at the steering to actually get the car turned in. And we'll see through turn 4, again, has to be so close and so careful to not get on those curbs, and it's very fine margins. This is King Eric going for a slide, can't quite save it this time around. Is he out of the lobby? No, he's not, as he gets a damaged wing, but he goes for a spin, and Ben Finch up into P5 after double stacking. Not bad at all. LB though has retired. He goes for a spin on the exit of turn 5. Is that going to be a full course caution? Don't think so. It depends on what the stewards believe to be safe or not. I think he's managed to in fact, it was an on-track retirement. He decided to retire as a manual one. That was an interesting one. Kill the Crow going for soft compound tyres, and Kiernan on these medium tyres, catching up to those on the Intis who have yet to pit. So slicks definitely the way to go. Luke into the pit lane. He's going to lose a world of time. Kiernan already catching up. Ben Finch 3.5 behind Sullivan Sniffer, who himself is around about 7 seconds off Kiernan, as Spiderina can't get it stopped for the pit lane. And you can already see now these little patches of water here and there, but for the most part it's dry, very dry. It's dried up very quickly. We've got a spin on the exit of turn 1. It's the Haas of Bluefoot again, really struggling on these slick tyres and the colder conditions. He can't get those tyres into a nice operating window, and is paying the price for it. Lewis Keaton, I thought that said fresh Inters. I was going to say, is he a madman or what? But he's coming in for fresh mediums. Koru in P10 needs to recover. Didn't think he particularly had the best run in the pit lane and in the pit lane sequence. That's a shame he comes out P10. Taylor Hammers and Jamie F1 though should be absolutely flying. They're committing to another stop on slicks, at least another stop, maybe even two, but he goes purple to the first sector. And what is good is that those softs will warm up and they'll be in a fantastic operating window compared to the mediums and the hards, so they're going to be even quicker compared to them. And even though maybe Jamie or Taylor might not be particularly quick compared to the likes of Kin and Solvent Sniffer, he's going to get a nice switcheroo on Daniel Stott and go underneath him through in towards turn 10 and get that move done into the top 6. Nice stuff from Jamie. And I think he should definitely put that one on the TikTok. That was a lovely move, opportunistic, and Taylor Hammers wants a piece of the action as well, practically pushing Daniel Stott through. A bit of contact as Kiernan sets the fast lap of the race. Taylor Hammers, is he going to dance it around the outside? He's definitely got the speed difference to do so, and Daniel Stott very wide, so Taylor is going to say thank you very much and just dance it around the outside. The Alfa Romeo trying to defend, but the Mercedes has the grip, bit of contact, and says thank you very much, and off he goes on his troubles. Jamie trying to set his sights on Luke in front. These softs really coming alive. This is Ben Finch on the mediums compared to the hards. Sends it up the inside. That was first class from the Williams and absolutely beautiful from Ben. Saw a gap on the inside, had confidence in his brake pedal, and what a move from the Williams to now make it a Williams 1-2. Lewis Keaton, a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. But there's a big difference now between the mediums and the softs and the hards as Ben Finch gets all kind of oversteer off the exit of turn 5, manages to keep it in check. But the thing is that the softs are so much quicker than the mediums and the mediums are so much quicker than the hards that it's just so awkward for a lot of people to keep it going. And at the moment it's definitely not true of each other's pace. Of course, Kiernan at the front, doesn't matter what tyres he's on, he's going to be quickest no matter what, and is looking to extend his championship lead. Kill the Crow on the softs though. 21.474 will at the moment be taking the extra point for fastest lap. I'm not entirely sure because he's not in the top 10 whether this championship has that rule or not, but Jamie has just driven up onto the back of Luke. He's going to benefit off the DRS down the pit straight. Luke very much struggling on those mediums, hard to warm them up in the still very damp, but it's warming up and you can start to see little patches of sun breaking through. Luke goes to the right hand side to try and defend. Jamie following him like a little conga line down the pit straight. He's got the overspeed, he pulls to the right hand side. The Alfa Romeo not going to fight this one too much, or is he? Goes around the outside, tries it, but the soft tyre grip just says nope, I'm coming through whether you like it or not. Luke tries to fight back, he is going to fight back to the left hand side, under brakes, not quite confident enough, and Taylor Hammers needs to get through. Luke's on a compromised line. Taylor Hammers going to keep to the left, go underneath him, get the drive off the corner, go to the right hand side, have the grip, and well, we'll see how this one turns out through turn 4. Is the Alfa Romeo going to back out? He is, and Taylor on the softs following Jamie through. These two are slicing through the field like a hot knife through butter. Jamie doing a very similar mistake to Ben Finch over that curb on the exit of turn 5, and Taylor saying, well, this is my opportunity. He's absolutely sending it now. He needs to stay in the DRS, he needs to stay with Jamie. 6 seconds, nearly 7 seconds to the next car of Rhys Thomas in front. Kill the Crow going even quicker, a 120.142 on those softs. While he's in P13, he's definitely got pace to be doing a lot better and trying to prove his pace as best he can. Lap 14 of 35, approaching halfway through this race very shortly. We get to around about lap 18 or so, and we'll also see the second round of pit stops. The thing about Solvent Stefano is that he's not going to need to pit again. Maybe. That's a big maybe. If there's another safety car late on, he could benefit heavily of it, but at the moment he's just losing a ton of time. A ton of time. Every lap you can see Ben Finch has gotten past and just driven away from him, and Kiernan ever since the start. There was a bit of moments where Solomon Sniffer was like, you know what, I'm going to catch up now, but then after that dropped off, and Kiernan was like, you can catch up, but you can't maintain that pace for long. I can do this all day. As King Eric sets the fastest lap, a 1:19.101 in his Aston Martin. But Taylor, definitely the quicker of the two. Mercedes versus Ferrari, it's like the good old days of 2017 and 18. We saw Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton fight it out. Taylor Hammers going to the inside. The Ferrari leaving him to dry around the outside. Jumps over the curb, but the Mercedes keeps his foot in, holds his nerve. What a send up the inside, and that's not somewhere you often see it done, but he done it very well in Solvent Sniffer while he's getting overtaken once more because Rhys Thomas now breathing down his neck in the Red Bull. The AlphaTauri very much struggling. Kiernan 18.750 sets the fastest lap out in front on the medium tyres as if it's no big a deal for him. And the Williams 1-2 definitely got the pace, the two quicker drivers, and will probably be setting their aspirations for the Constructors' Championship this season. Reece Thomas closing at a rate of knots on Sullivan Sniffer, the fight for the podium. He's got a penalty, but he's got the pace to pull the gap, goes down the inside, and to no defence from Sullivan Sniffer. He's not particularly interested in fighting this one too much. I'm sure Reece Thomas gets himself up on to the podium and just needs to gap Sullivan Sniffer enough to diminish his penalty, which at the moment I believe is 3 seconds. King Eric an 18.050 on the softs, and only marginally quicker than Kiernan on the mediums. And how much quicker the softs have been compared to the mediums goes to show how quick Kiernan has been. He's gapped his teammate by quite a bit. Taylor hammers a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, and in fact he's gotten past Luke on this lap, and I could have sworn that Jamie also got past Luke, but I might be mistaken. Corey now onto the back of him also, as the soft tyres will start to degrade. They are now past their second wind of pace, and will now start to slowly drop off, and the mediums will slowly start to be a little bit quicker. Kiernan at 17.9 responds and says, no, you are not having that fastest lap, I'm having it. Don't care if I'm on mediums, I'm Kiernan T. I do not follow the rules of tyre deltas or anything like that. I am in a Williams and I will win. Is what he's saying, I'm sure, in his helmet right now, but he's doing an incredible job. Make no mistakes so far, and with around about half of the race distance left to go, we're now walking out of the woods for this race. DRS open for Corey. He's definitely closing on Jamie. He's almost got a full battery. So too does Jamie, in fact, as they hurtle their way down towards turn 1, looking for that 100 board. Even with the heavy fuel, you can still brake very late for turn 1, even though it's quite a tight radius, which is surprising. You can brake that late. Daniel Stott 17 at 7.79 on this softs. Are these fresh softs? Relatively fresh. They'll still have a lot of life left in them as they go up towards turn 4. As Jamie gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. As Kiernan, again, I can do this all day at 17.406 from the man leading the race, a 13-second gap to second. I mean, it's a pretty boring race for the front guys, but for Kiernan, I'm sure he's not complaining. He'll extend his championship lead by quite a substantial margin more, especially with Corey down in P8 at the moment, now halfway through the race, up 18 of 35. Corey in the DRS, he's very close to Jamie this time around. He's definitely on the quicker tyre as those softs start to degrade down the pit straight towards turn 1. He's closing at a rate of knots, not quite enough, 10 miles an hour difference between the two. He's going to wait for T2, the second DRS zone. He's got a good run off, he's not using his DRS. Jamie just launches off. Still the soft tyres quicker on traction, maybe not on overall grip, but the traction they get is just incredible off the corner exit. But he's got a poor run off of turn 3. Corey's going to look to the right hand side. Is he going to go all the way around the outside through turn 4? Neither of them back out until Corey says, you know what, I choose life, and the Ferrari stays ahead for the time being, about for P7. That looks very feisty indeed, and I'm loving every second of it. No other close fight on track at the moment, as Corey makes a bit of a mistake and goes over the second curb there through the turn 6 and 7 chicane, as the Aston Martin of T. Gregors, I think, has gone for a bit of a spin, and in fact it was King Eric, because T. Gregors is no longer in this race, just in front of this fight between 7th and 8th, in fact. Towards turn 12, the sun now starting to come through. The track will start to slowly warm up, and that will allow the tyres to heat up a bit quicker, and might solve Sniffer's issues of the tyres being a bit too cold, perhaps. We'll have to wait and see. Daniel Stott on the back of King Eric after his spin. C1, a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Again, not his day in the office at all. Down the pit straight once more between Jamie and Corey. Jamie not at all fast. He doesn't even have to look in his mirrors. He's not even using his ERS. He's confident. He knows that he can stay in front. Let's see how Daniel and King Eric fare. Neither of them with a particularly large amount of ERS to use through and down towards turn 1. Daniel Stott pulls to the right hand side using DRS, and every little bit of ERS he has left in the tank down the inside, and says thank you very much, I'm getting myself into the top 10. The Aston Martin could come back at him though. He's not going to have the benefit of DRS, but he's got a bit of ERS in the tank, doesn't think to use it though, and at the moment is going to stay behind. Jamie lost that position to Corey meanwhile, and somewhere in sector 1. And Jamie falling behind. Those tyres are going to be slightly worse for where I'll probably be coming in soon. I would imagine for a set of mediums, I mean, Spider Arena has done 18 laps on those mediums. So they can definitely go the distance from now. With 16 laps left to go. Daniel Stott going in very deep towards turn 9. And going over the grass, and that's going to compromise his run through turn 10. And King Eric back into the top 10. Here comes Sailor Hammers into the pit lane. He's going to be going on to a set of medium tyres to the end. So too is Jamie, who are both looking at pretty quick in the drying conditions of this race. Daniel Stott back onto the back of King Eric. Both of them will probably pit very soon, I'd imagine. Again, not entirely sure. We'll have to wait and see. That's Kill the Crow, though. Out of this session is at a retirement off the exit of turn 11. And no full course caution. I don't think there's going to be a full course safety car. That would spice things up definitely, though. Amongst the midfield. Would trigger a lot of pit stops for medium tyres to the end of this race. Still yellow flags through sectors 2 and 3, no overtaken, of course. That is Ben Finch and Reese Thomas going for a bit of a swap of position. Reese Thomas just getting himself up the inside and definitely showing he's got some pace. Maybe Ben went for a bit of an oversteer moment, completely missed that one. My apologies, this is King Eric getting past Taylor Hammers, who is still waiting for his tyres to sort of get into a nice window once more. Ben into the pit lane. While it's not going to be probably enough to undercut his teammate, it will definitely help him in his fight between Solvensniffer and Reese Thomas. What tyres is he going on to? Probably mediums, I'd imagine, to the end of this race. Coming in now, unless he needs a new front wing, in which he does. He's going on to mediums. He's swapping his front wing out. It's going to be around a 10-second stop, and he's going to need to get to the end on those mediums. Should be easy enough. An early stop, a premature stop. He comes out in clear-ish air, though. Yeah, he's going to be in clear air, provided the Red Bull and Aston Martin don't get past. And no, they don't. So he's in clear air to push on these fresh tyres. Solvensniffer, though, these hard tyres coming back into their own. They're coming back to Solvensniffer, and so is this race in terms of the fact that he's got no penalties and he could be good to the end. It's actually looking good for Solvensniffer to get at least P2. It depends if he can gain a little bit on Kieran also. But that is a big if. Going off the track and completely bailing off the exit of turn 11, and 1.2 seconds is the gap between himself and Reese Thomas for that second place on the podium. 4 tenths between Taylor Hammers and King Eric. It's been a very mighty midfield fight, it must be said. Not much happening at the front for podiums or top 5s, but for 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th sort of places, it's been very, very good amongst the midfield. And you have to give him a bit of praise for that. Especially off the exit of that first safety car restart, or the only safety car restart in this race. In towards the turn 12. That's a nice exit, and he's just trying to set himself up for the straight. Doesn't want to go for a move anywhere near these corners. Goes for a bit of a tank slapper moment. Gets himself to the left-hand side, though pretty quick. Not the quickest line, but it sets him up in probably the best out of the bad situation. DRS open then as he comes down this pit straight. Is he going to use his ERS? I don't think he is. King Eric might be slightly quicker. He's going to use his ERS at the very dying stages of the straight. Close up so much under braking. Can King Eric get the launch off the corner? Just about. And Taylor Hammers is going to close. King Eric not got a lot in the way of ERS to use. Taylor Hammers trying it. He's going to look to the outside. Can he dance his way around? No, he can't. He's going to have to sit behind again. Needs to use a little bit more ERS. Need a bit more assertive with his ERS. So 17.397 for Kiernan, who says, I've still got pace. That's King Eric going round again off the exit of turn 4. A huge crash for the Aston Martin, who damages his front wing, and that is those tyres definitely going off now. They are shot. They are off a cliff. They are just gone in all senses of the word. And Jamie trying to close up onto the back of Daniel Stott. 1.5 is the gap. He's managed to get going as King Eric, but he needs to limp at home with a damaged wing. Reese Thomas into the pit lane also for a fresh set of mediums. This is going to be a straight drag fight between himself and Ben Finch as, well, he's already coming out of the pit lane. He's going to lose the place to Luke and Koru, who both need to pit again. Because of Ben Finch's wing change, it's going to cost him dearly as Reese Thomas comes out ahead of 17.099 for the Williams driver, beating his teammate's previous fastest lap on the fresh tyres. Koru on the back of Luke. They're on pretty equal tyres, probably equal strategies also, so this is definitely for position wherever it might be. Koru with a penalty and Luke keeping it clean so far. Coming through turn number 5. Luke getting a bit of a tank slapper, having to catch it. He's all over the back of him, putting a bit of pressure on through turn 12. He's going to have the benefit of DRS, provided none of them. They go through the penultimate corner in towards the final one of turn 14. Luke taking a nice line to maximise the exit, goes slower in but faster out, and that gives him a nice run onto the straight. He's got equal ERS to Corey really, but Corey's still gaining enough. Is it enough to go for a first class send? Not quite. Ben Finch again fastest, a 17.025. Just a little bit of marginal gains, but he's so consistent that he's closing and closing on Reese. And of course, Reese has that penalty. It's 3 seconds, 5/10 between Ben and Reese. That's probably for P2 at the moment. Around the outside though goes Corey. A very nice move, got the bite off turn 2 and gets ahead of Luke in towards turn number 4. Very nicely done by Corey, who's going for some nice moves today. He is sending it. He's up into P3 provisionally. He has to stop again, of course, with about 12 laps left to go in this race. He won't get to the end on those mediums unless he's a madman and tries. Respect to him if he does. I will say that much. Those tyres will be absolutely shot by the time he gets his way done. With the migrating host, I think that's LB finally calling it quits, or Kill the Crow leaving the session. He retired a few laps ago. Luke though, still close to Corey. He's got fresher tyres and should in theory maybe even be slightly quicker, but that's never usually the case. Little tiny things can affect tyre wear. Reese though, he's on the back of these two with some fresh tyres. Ben Finch around about 3.5 seconds back. Reese with DRS. He's going to have a little bit of DRS left in the tank, but Luke's got enough to defend, of course, and also the DRS of the car in front. This is going to make it ever difficult for Reese to get through. He's got the fresher tyres, sure, but Luke and Corey have got the DRS of each other and the ERS advantage compared to Reese. They've got, he's under 10% in terms of energy in his battery, and that's going to reduce the power output so he can save a little bit more. So he's probably losing a good 100 horsepower down the straights, and that's going to equate to maybe 20-30 miles an hour loss as he gets another 3-second time penalty. So too does Luke, who can't keep it clean for the entire race, but not a lot of people in this race can. Solvent, Sniffer and Kieran in the top 2 have been able to. Luke gets a bit of a compromised run through turn 7 as Reese is looking to get past and into the top 4, practically pushing him through this middle tight and twisty section through turn 11. If he can get the run, he's using ERS but just hasn't got enough, needs to save it all up. Take a couple of laps maybe just to charge your batteries, because you do not want to get stuck behind these two, especially when Ben is coming at an absolute rate of knots. Is caught up by a second on this lap alone as he sends it to the inside of Luke through the final corner, running side by side. The Alfa Romeo trying it around the outside. He's going to have DRS, both of them do, and Luke's going to have the better ERS, the better run, pulls back to the right hand side, is going to fight him towards turn 1. Here comes the Alfa Romeo, back down the inside, gets it stopped. The Red Bull though swoops around the outside, gets the foot in, just says, okay, cool. You tried to fight back, but I'm quicker. I'm going to get my way through whether you like it or not. Up into P4 goes Reese with Ben 2.1 seconds back, and he's eyeing up Corey. He wants to get himself past the Mercedes and back on to the podium before Solvent, Sniffer and Kiernan come into the pit lane, if Solvent, Sniffer and Kiernan come in to the pit lane. Kiernan just dominating. He's doing his own thing up in front. He's probably got a good, he's got a free pit stop, 26-second gap to Solvent, who's probably not going to pit. I'm guessing he's going to stick it out and hope for the best, because he's kept it clean. He's got no penalties and he's looking good for a P2, and I doubt Reese nor Luke nor Ben will actually be able to catch up. And Corey doing a great job of defending, and he just needs to stay within 3 seconds of Reese as well. So if he can stick it out on these tyres, again, fair play to him, and of course keep some good pace as Reese is looking to go around the outside and use that extra grip, but again, just can't quite, as Corey does bite the bullet and comes into the pit lane. Is Luke coming in? No, he's not. He stays out. Corey, though, probably going to come in for a set of soft compound tyres, as Ben Finch is going to gain a position up into the top 5 and looking to chase after Luke for an extra one into the top 4. No other battles happening on the track at the moment. But Kiernan will lead the way by, well, he's got 25 points at the moment. Corey has got 6, 19 points onto a 45-point gap. That's going to be 64 points advantage Kiernan in towards round 8 as Corey comes out side by side with Jamie. He's got the fresher, softer tyre. He's going to go around the outside, just dance his way through the Ferrari, trying to put up a fight. They're going to be side by side maybe through turn 3, but Jamie just says, you can have that one. Lifts off the throttle, backs off, does not want to fight it too much. We go back to the fight for P4. Kiernan, though, comes into the pit lane. He's going to strap on some softs, and now we're really going to see what Kiernan can do. He's got light fuel, only around about 8 laps or so, but that's a spin of Rhys Thomas into the barrier, and he's damaged his wing. Maybe indeed he has, and he's out of contention for this race. He's got a puncture, has he? He has a rear right puncture, I believe. Has the one as the Red Bull? It looks as though he's got one. No, he doesn't. It looked as though one of the tyres had deformed. Whether that was just contact with the barrier, I'm not entirely sure. But he's got a buttload of understeer. He's staying out. He's staying out. Why is he staying out? He's going to go backwards for sure. Maybe even into the clutches of the likes of Corey. Maybe. As Luke comes in for a fresh set of softs, he's going to come right around P9, I think. Yeah, that seems reasonable. P9. Solvent Sniffer though, P2. Ben Finch got past Luke because of that pit lane. Pit stop, and 2.4 seconds the gap between himself and Rhys. Ben looking favourable for a podium because Rhys is going to be extremely slow, especially at a track like Hungary where you need that downforce in order to do well. Solvent Sniffer is onto the back of Kiernan. I think he might have waited up or charged up. I think he might have been charging up the battery. Indeed he has been. He knows he can win this race. He's confident. He knows. And Solvent Sniffer, well, he might try and put up a fight. He's on 16 lap old hards compared to the softs, but he's close, and maybe the softs will drop off quicker than those hards. I'm not quite sure why Kiernan had slowed down, but each to their own. And Solvent Sniffer looking very close, maybe making it interesting. This is Ben Finch sailing past the Red Bull in towards turn 12 and on back onto the podium. But Kiernan just got the pace. He's going to blitz off now. He's just going to show off. He wants to see how much quicker the softs are compared to the 17 lap old hards of Solvent Sniffer. And let's see what he can do to the first sector. Is he going to be purple? Indeed he is. 7/10 quicker than his previous best time. Through in towards turn 5. Pretty much a quali lap by him now. He's just hitting every apex, ticking all the boxes. And this is a master at work. This is why he had a 30-second lead before he come into the pit lane. This is why he's now strapped on the soft compound tyres to the end of the race. So he can show us this absolute masterclass. Through in towards turn 9, flat through turn 10, losing a bit of VRS, and he's just going for a fastest lap attempt because why the hell not? Through turn 11, a little bit squirmy, he did not want to lose the race there. In towards turn 12, 1.3 seconds quicker than his best lap time, and it will very comfortably be the fastest lap of this race. Through the penultimate corner of turn 13, third gear, roll it through to the exit of the track, bring it back to the left, and caress it through the final corner to the left hand side over the curb. No DRS of course, but across the line at 15.6, and that was quicker than a lot of people's quali time in Q3. Very good lap indeed from Kiernan, which you have to say well done to. This is Luke trying to gain a couple of places. P6 on the cards for sure. He's only got a 3-second penalty compared to the people around him, 6 seconds behind him and 3 seconds in front of him. So he's got the soft tire grip. It's equal game between himself, C1, Jamie, and maybe even Taylor Hammers. He's got the time. He just needs to try and pick his way through. Jamie F1 really struggling on those medium tyres. This could be Luke for a very good midfield position. DRS open then as he goes down the pit straight. He's using all the ERS he can. C1 closing on Jamie. Not quite closing enough. Jamie having to conserve energy. Is anyone going to send it? Luke having to defend from the Alfa Romeo, who's going to lick it, stick it, send it up the inside. Not quite enough. He's got the soft tyre grip. There's contact between the two. Oh no! A big crash as C1 has been sent into the wall for the second time this race. Luke inherits P7 with the softs, an audacious send up the inside, but it's a tough one, that one. Very much a tough one. Corey, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That could hinder his progress in this race. 3.7 seconds back on Ben, but fresh, soft, compound tyres could work in his favour with around about 4.5 laps left to go in this one. Yeah, for Luke, I don't know if he has to hold his hands up and say sorry for that. Was there contact? Was there enough contact to justify C1 going round, or was it under traction? I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't look like there was any contact. Luke sort of put it up the inside, and then sort of backed out and was given the space, so it might well have been under acceleration. Again, I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure if there was a problem, the stewards will look at it post-race. Jamie 6/10 back on Taylor Handers in towards turn 1. He's looking to improve. Here's at P6 at the moment. But Kiernan, a 3-second time penalty. That's really not going to affect him at all. Really, is it, game? He got a 3-second time penalty, which was just going to be a slightly slower race finish time as Ben Finch is out of the session. A big crash out of the exit of turn 4, and Ben Finch, after driving an incredible race of VSC, has been brought out in the closing stages, basically to press pause on the race, and it's a full course safety car. Is Solvent Sniffer going to gamble? Surely he has to get. He's past the pit lane. He's past the pit lane. This could be very, very good for Corey. This could be very good for a lot of people. It's not going to stay out long. It's probably going to be a 2 or 3 lap sprint to the end of this race. Not enough time for everyone to bunch up. But wow, this could be very interesting indeed. Have they been collected already? They have. So not enough time for Solvent Sniffer to come in. That's a very poorly timed safety car. Ben Finch out of the session, Corey onto the podium, Taylor in contention, so too is Jamie. Taylor, Corey coming in for some fresh softs. He's got the gap, has he? Has he got the gap? Who's that into the pit lane? No, Taylor's in as well. They're going to double stack at Mercedes. They're going to put on the softs. They're going to go to the end on some softs. Jamie into P3. He stays out just to risk it, because again, why not? Luke already on fresh softs, comes into P4. This has really spiced things up. A pretty dull race in terms of lack of fights for the race lead has now been turned into a very interesting one because of the fight for the podium. Corey comes out in P6, 5. He's going to race C1 all the way, but C1 takes it. He's on 20 lap old tyres though. That's going to be to the delight of Corey at all. He needs to gain the time though. He needs to catch up to the safety car queue before it comes in, which might be at the end of the next lap. He needs to push. They all need to push to catch up. Jamie could be good here. How many time penalties have they got? 3 seconds, 3 seconds. Solvent Sniffer, actually, it depends how quickly Kiernan gets away. That 3 seconds will hurt him. Solvent Sniffer needs to keep those tyres alive and just push. Full out push to the end. Does Kiernan have enough time? Does he have enough pace? Will the tyres die off too quickly? Here he comes. Solvent Sniffer's coming in. He's going to lose a couple of positions, but he's going to be on the softs. He nearly spins. Does he need to? I guess he needs to. He gets a 5-second penalty for speeding. Oh, Solvent Sniffer, no. It's all coming undone. Jamie into P2 from last on the grid, may I add. He's pulled a Bottas. From last on the grid, that's now in P2. Of course, he's on old tyres and hasn't pit under this safety car. And probably, in all fairness, will go backwards because of Corey and Reese and Solvent and Taylor all on fresh softs and will probably blitz their way through the field. But fair enough, he's put it in this position. And 12 lap old mediums compared to 4 lap old softs at Hungary. I mean, it could be quite close. He could win this. Maybe. This is a bit of a traffic jam. There's a hash just stopped in the middle of the road there, letting everyone through. Not entirely sure. A weird one, to say the least. But Solvent Sniffer, a 5-second penalty is going from bad to worse. Oh, there was contact between C1 and Luke there. Yeah, they both get 5-second penalties. This is all kicking off now. Luke 13 seconds, Jamie 8 seconds. He had contact with Luke, I think. And safety car is in this lap. Everyone's pretty much here. We got pretty much a full bunched up grid. We're just waiting for, I think, an Alfa Romeo at the back. They're going to be lapped. Unfortunately, didn't have the opportunity to unlap themselves. But Kiernan's going to lead us then for the final 2 laps of this race. We're going to get racing on lap 34, the penultimate lap. and it could be anyone's game as there's a bit of overtaking already. Luke jumping and C1 trying to get past Luke, not quite sure what's going on here. But Kiernan backing up the field, does not want to be put under any pressure. He's bolted it through the final corner, he's caught everyone napping. He's already got 2 seconds to Jamie, who in P2 he's got lap cars in between him, he can't do much. We go green once again, there's Reese into the wall and out of the session. Oh no! Luke now on the back of C1 towards turn 1, hasn't quite got the grip. He's going to send it back up the inside, keep it tight through turn 1. The AlphaTauri around the outside. Corey going to go for the switcheroo. He gets one of them. Can he get the other one? He's side by side with the AlphaTauri. He's got the grip definitely to send it on Luke. He's going to look but not quite be able to send his teammate Taylor Hammers around the outside of C1, who goes sideways through turn 2. Not able to catch that one. He's going to lose a lot of places. Here comes Corey to the right hand side in towards turn 4. It's been his signature move. He's going to back out, maybe go for the switcheroo. His teammates there as well. They're nearly 4 cars in bumper to bumper to bumper as they go through turn 5. Corey wants this podium. He's going to get it on penalties, whether he likes it, whether Luke likes it or not. But he wants it on track. Everyone wants it on track. The lap car's getting in the way slightly. That's going to hurt their visibility. Luke trying to hang on. Lewis Kitchen and T. Gregors, I don't know what they're doing. They're just sort of doing their own thing rather than moving out of the way. Solvent Sniffer also in the mix, trying to get past Taylor Hammers. He's had a great run off of turn 11. I think Taylor Hammers and Solvent Sniffer have come together. Oh no! A big crash. Taylor Hammers is out. Solvent Sniffer has lost his front wing, and it's between Koru and Luke. There's been so many DNFs in the last couple of laps that I didn't even see what happened between the two. They just sort of merged under each other through the back marker and just blew up essentially as we go into the final lap. Kiernan leads from Jamie and Luke in P2 and 3. Koru on the back. He's going to try his absolute everything to get onto the podium. Whether they're equal on penalties, I'm not entirely sure. No, they're not, because Luke is 13 and Koru is 6. And yeah, I think it's going to stay as it is because the penalties are going to sort of awkwardly equal themselves out. It's very topsy-turvy at the moment. I think Jamie will hang on for a podium with only 2, 4 and then about 11 people of the 18 left to finish. So that's because of a lot of DNFs late on. The final lap of this race, Kiernan has absolutely dominated it, played the strategy to a T. Solomon Sniffer trying to hang it out on this last lap. He's going to get overtaken. Daniel Stott in P5 can also get himself into P4, maybe, if he can get through. Corey losing a bit of time behind the back marker of Lewis Kitchen, who again just isn't moving out of the way. Yeah, well, Kiernan through the final couple of corners, he's absolutely dominated this race. He's led from start to finish, led Q1, Q2, Q3. He's led every lap from pole position, the fastest lap of the race as well. He wins the Hungarian Grand Prix, followed by Jamie. An incredible drive from the back of the grid. Luke tried to catch him in those closing stages. 5 seconds for an unserved penalty, but it's still a podium. Corey P2 with Luke P4. It's an Alfa Romeo 4-5. C1 will come home a few seconds later, followed by his teammate Solvent Sniffer as they go across the line, both without a front wing. Could have been so much more for these two, 6th and 7th. And well, what a dramatic race. I wouldn't say a particularly good race, but a dramatic one nonetheless. We had battles, we had good battles. Jamie taking the driver of the day, very deservedly so, I must say. He very much deserves that, and deserves all the credit for 18th to 3rd and 2nd on the road. Tyre heat is so high, I can imagine so, Ben. That's unfortunate, but your teammate celebrates on the podium. And at good points for the constructors. Very well done indeed to Kiernan. Pole, Q1, Q2, Q3 top them. Fastest lap as well. Pretty much Grand Slam for Kieran, who, well, there's no free practice, but is as close as you can get to a Grand Slam in the Formula 1 2021 game. It's Koru in P2 with Jamie P3, Luke in P4 with Daniel rounding off the top 5. C1 P6, Solomon Sniffer P7 with Lewis Kitton P8, Spiderina and Taylor Hammers 9th and 10th with Bluefoot P11, Gregors P12, Reese Thomas P13, King Eric 14th, Ben Finch 15th, Kilda Crow 16th, LB in 17th and Tyler rounding off the grid. A lot of DNFs today. I think only 14 people classified because of the 75% race distance. Bluefoot lost all force feedback in his wheel and came back last 10 laps and finished P11. Not a bad drive then. Not at all a bad drive. Getting to the end after losing force feedback is an achievement in and of itself, but nonetheless, guys, my voice is absolutely knackered. That was a very good race. Dry to wet, and well, or wet to dry, I should say. And was a dramatic race. Kiernan once again dominating and showing his mettle in that Williams. And I think he should definitely be aspiring for bigger and better things than RRL. And we'll hopefully see him in the top levels, maybe a PSGL in the future. Who knows if he keeps at it. But nonetheless, guys, this has been RRL. It's been round number 7. I've been Zach Sweeney. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.